Where do you belong? Think about it for a moment. Your home, your neighborhood, your city, the places you are allowed to go, the places you are not allowed to go, the spaces where you feel safe, the spaces where you feel threatened. Does gender affect where you can go and how you are treated in those spaces? For most of us, the answer is yes. Women, men, and people of other genders often experience the same space in completely different ways. A dark street at midnight feels different to a woman than it does to a man. Space is not neutral, space is gendered. That means spaces are designed, controlled, and experienced differently depending on your gender. And in India, as in most places, the spaces that are considered normal are built for heterosexual cisgender people, people whose gender matches the sex they were assigned at birth. Everyone else has to fight for space or invent their own. Heterotopia is a term that comes from French philosopher Michel Foucault. A heterotopia is a real space that is different from normal spaces. It is a space that reflects, challenges, or even reverses what happens in the outside world. Foucault gives several examples. A cemetery is a heterotopia. A cemetery is a real place. You can go there, you can touch the gravestones, but it is also a place for the dead, a place of memory, a place that sits outside normal time. Everyone will eventually end up in a cemetery. But while we are alive, we treat it as separate, special, and strange. Another example is a ship. A ship is a real thing made of wood and metal, but it is also a floating piece of home that travels across the ocean, detached from land, moving between worlds. Roy's The Ministry of Utmost Happiness is filled with heterotopias, and the most important one is the cemetery where the protagonist Anjum goes to live. Anjum was born as Aftab, a boy, but from childhood Aftab felt different. Aftab was a hermaphrodite, someone born with male and female physical characteristics. As Aftab grows up, he realizes he is not a man, he is not exactly a woman either. He becomes Anjum, a Hijra, a member of India's third gender community. Anjum lives for many years in a place called Kwabah, the House of Dreams, which is a home for Hijras. But after a traumatic experience during the Gujarat riots, where she witnesses terrible violence against Muslims, Anjum can no longer stay there. She is broken, so she leaves. She goes to live in a graveyard. Anjum lives in the graveyard like a tree. When people call her names, clown without a circus, queen without a palace, she lets the hurt blow through her branches like a breeze. She is not just surviving, she is growing, she is rooted. At first, the graveyard is just a place of desolation, but slowly Anjum transforms it. She builds a tin shack, then she expands it, she turns it into a guest house. She calls it Jannat, which means paradise. It becomes Jannat guest house and funeral services. She invites other outcasts to live with her, Hijras who have been thrown out of their communities, a Dalit man named Saddam Hussein, and abandoned children. This graveyard is a perfect heterotopia. It is a real place, but it is not like any other place in the city. The dead sleep beside the living. A funeral home is also a hotel. Outcasts become a family. The rules of the outside world, the rules that say Anjum is shameful, that Hijras do not belong, that Dalits are untouchable, those rules do not apply here. Inside the cemetery, a different world is possible. Geographer Soya says that when we think about space, we usually think in two ways. First space is the physical, measurable world, the map, address, distance between 2 points. The graveyard is on a particular street in Delhi, that is first space. Second space is how we think about space, the ideas, feelings, meanings we attach to places. The graveyard is a place of death, of sorrow, memory, that is second space. But third space is something more. Third space is a combination of the real and the imagined. It is the space of lived experience where history, memory, dreams, and physical reality all mix together. Third place is fluid, it changes. It is different for every person who occupies it. Roy's novel is a brilliant exploration of third spaces. Anjum's graveyard is not just a physical location, a first place, and not just a symbol of death, a second space. It is a living, breathing, changing world where Anjum builds a home, raises a child, becomes famous, and creates meaning. That is third space. Third space is especially important for people who are marginalized because the dominant society, the world of first space and second space, often excludes them. The physical city has no place for them. The ideas about space, this is a rich neighborhood, this is a poor neighborhood, this is where women belong, this is where men belong, they do not include them. So people create their own third spaces. They must imagine new ways of living and then build them, even in the most unlikely places like a graveyard. The graveyard is not the only heterotopia in the novel. Roy gives us several. The first is Quaba, the house of dreams. This is the home where Anjum lives for 30 years before moving to the graveyard. Quaba is a dilapidated old Haveli, a traditional mansion in the heart of Old Delhi. It is run by a powerful Hijra named Kulsum B. She says this house has an unbroken history that is as old as this broken city. These peeling walls, this leaking roof, and this sunny courtyard, all this was once beautiful. We are not just any Hijras from any place, we are the Hijras of Shahjahanbad. Quaba is a heterotopia because inside its walls, the normal rules of gender do not apply. In the outside world, the dunya as they call it, Hijras are mocked, feared, and excluded. But inside Quaba, they are the normal ones. They have their own hierarchy, their own traditions, own way of life. For young Aftab, walking through the door of Quaba is like walking through the gates of paradise. But Quaba is not a perfect paradise. It has its own rules and restrictions. And after the trauma of the Gujarat riots, Anjum finds the Quaba is no longer enough. The violence of the outside world has penetrated even this protected space. So she leaves for the graveyard, an even more extreme heterotopia. The second important heterotopia is Shiraz Cinema in Kashmir. This is a very different kind of space. Shiraz Cinema used to be a movie theater where people watched films, but in the conflict ridden Kashmir of the novel, it has been turned into an interrogation center for the Indian police and army. Roy describes it in haunting detail. The cinema still has its cheap, flashy chandeliers. There are old film posters on the walls. There are advertisements for Cadbury chocolates. There are also the sounds of torture coming from behind the walls. There are badly beaten prisoners. There are soldiers with guns. Shiraz Cinema is a heterotopia because it juxtaposes incompatible worlds, entertainment and torture, bright lights and dark secrets, the innocent past and the violent present. It is a space that represents everything wrong with the state's oppression of Kashmir, and it is also a space where resistance happens, where the protagonist Tilo is interrogated and tortured, but where she also refuses to break. These heterotopias are not just settings, they are characters in the novel. They shape the people who live in them. They reveal the violence and exclusion that exists beneath the surface of normal India. We should also understand that the human body itself is a space, not just metaphorically, but in a very real way. Think about it. Your body has boundaries, your skin. Your body has territories, different parts that are public and private, touched or untouched. Your body is shaped by society, how you dress, how you move, how you stand, and how you speak. Your body is also shaped by gender, the expectations, restrictions, and the violence. Soya says that there is a revived interest in the body as the most intimate of personal and political spaces. Body is the smallest scale of geography, but it is also the most important because if you do not have control over your own body, you have nothing. Roy's novel shows this again and again. Let me give you three examples. First is Anjum's body. Anjum's body is intersex. It does not fit the binary of male or female. In the outside world, this makes her a target. People mock her. They do not know which queue she should stand in, which toilet she should use. Her body is a congested space. The medical system wants to fix her. Society wants to hide her. But Anjum refuses. She says, I am all of them. I am Romy and Julie. I am Laila and Majnu. I am a Mehfil. I am a gathering of everybody and nobody. Her body is not a problem to be solved, it is a space of infinite possibilities. But Anjum also experiences terrible violence. During the Gujarat riots, something happens to her that Roy does not fully describe. We only see the aftermath when she returns to Quaba. She has had a haircut, she is dressed in men's clothes, she has lost weight, she is cold and distant, and she transforms her adopted daughter Sainab, cutting her hair short and dressing her in boys' clothes. This is a response to fear. Anjum has learned that her body is unsafe. She is trying to protect herself and her child by hiding, by making them less visible. Second is Tilo's body. Tilo is a woman who refuses to conform. She smokes cigarettes, she dresses immodestly, she lives alone. She has no decent family to protect her. In Delhi, this makes her vulnerable. Drunk men harass her. Her bosses try to take advantage of her. But in Kashmir, her vulnerability is even more extreme. She is captured and interrogated by ACP Pingi Sodhi, a brutal policewoman. Pingi cannot leave injury marks on Tilo. That would be too obvious. So she finds another punishment. She shaves off Tilo's long hair. Why is this so cruel? Because in many cultures, a woman's long hair is a symbol of her femininity, honor, and identity. By shaving it off, Pinky is not just humiliating Tilo, she is trying to unmake her as a woman. She is attacking Tilo's body as a space of identity. This is a form of gendered violence that leaves no bruises but cuts deep. Third is Revati's body. Revati is a poor woman, a member of a backward community. She is gang raped. Her child, Miss Jabin, is born from that violence. Revati's story is mostly told in letters. She is a background character, but her body is a space where the structural violence of India, the violence of caste, class, and gender, is written in blood. Roy does not let us look away. She forces us to see that for poor women, especially poor women from marginalized communities, the body is never truly their own. It is always available to be invaded, used, and discarded. Here is the question: why should we care about heterotopias and third spaces and gendered bodies? Because spaces are not neutral, they are political. They are designed by power to serve power. The city is built for the rich, not the poor. Public spaces are built for men, not women. Toilets, buses, parks, streets, all of these spaces send messages about who belongs and who does not. And for people like Anjum, people who do not fit the binary of gender, the message is clear: you do not belong anywhere. But Roy's The Ministry of Utmost Happiness shows us something else. It shows us that spaces can be remade. A cemetery can become a home. A guest house can become a paradise. A body that society calls wrong can become a gathering of everybody and nobody. Anjum says, is there anyone else who would like to invite? Everyone is invited. That is the radical message of The Ministry of Utmost Happiness. It is a novel about exclusion, about all the ways India pushes people out. But it is also a novel about inclusion, about the creativity, courage, and stubborn love of people who refuse to disappear. They build homes in graveyards, they raise children in funeral parlors, they turn their wrong bodies into spaces of joy and resistance.